I'm happy to report that a case which has been on for almost 6 years, which is short by Indian standards, but still, uh, where a magistrate in the border of India and Bangladesh issued a warrant in my name for having engaged in hate speeches. The hate speech that you mentioned was a lecture I gave to the university in Guwahati, where I mentioned that the Supreme Court in 1994 had held that a mosque is not a religious place, it's a place for reading namaz. And in Islamic countries, mosques are demolished and shifted and renovated and so on. And it's therefore not comparable to a place of prayer like a temple. So therefore, even during British times, they have been demolishing mosques. In modern times, also in Turkey, to build roads, they demolish mosques. Even in Saudi Arabia, to beautify the Medina, Makkah area, they have demolished mosques, even a mosque which was built by on the direction of Prophet Muhammad himself, and holding that namaz can be read anywhere, and it can be read in your drawing room, it can be read in an aeroplane, it can be read on the road, on a railway platform, and therefore it's just a place for congregating. So that was the concept of mosque which I explained, and therefore I said that we can't say, well, of course, demolition of Babri Masjid was a act which had no legal base in the sense that mob went and broke it up. However, the question is that there was no religious implication of that thing. In fact, that area was where Rama was born. And Rama, of course, as you know, is a person who is called Maryada Purushottam, and we all Hindus believe that he was born at a particular spot in Ayodhya, on which the army of Babur built a mosque. So that's a background, and explain to them, therefore, there should be no difficulty in the Muslims accepting to build a mosque in some other place which is more convenient for them, because this place, there is no Muslim settlement in that nearby area. So to make it easier to read namaz, it can be built anywhere. This was a speech in English to the university, and a Bengali translation, not in Guwahati but in Karimganj, um, had a distorted version, as newspapers are prone to do, and on that basis, the lawyer, some he was a Muslim himself. He took objection, and he filed a complaint. But after the complaint was filed, the magistrate was also Muslim. He did not act according to the the Criminal Procedure Code. The Criminal Procedure Code says that once a complaint comes, then the complainant has to be put on the witness box and made to take an oath. And on oath, he has to make a statement to which questions can be asked by the magistrate. That is a mandatory requirement, and he did not do that. Without even examining the complainant on oath, as required under Section 200 and Section 202, the magistrate went ahead and immediately issued a summons, and then after 2 days claimed that since I am a very resourceful person, I must have received a copy of the summons, and therefore, since I had not turned up for the next hearing, he issued a warrant. So this was not a ordinary act of a trigger happy magistrate. It was more a induced situation, and there were a lot of political elements taking interest in ensuring that somehow I'm dragged all the way to the borders of Bangladesh and arrested and put in jail. And they happened to be, unfortunately, from the BJP. I need not say more because some of those people who were active in that. One of them is dead, and the other has been dismissed from his office. Now the question was, do I go and face the trial, or do I find out what are the illegalities committed in this? And in that sense, after doing research, I found that all these things that I mentioned to you, like the complaint was not subject to examination by the magistrate on oath of the complainant, and therefore ipso facto it's illegal on that. And there are many other illegalities, and hence my first objection when I went to the High Court was to say this has happened. The High Court in the first hearing issued a stay, and I had, of course, protected myself coming to Assam because there was a Congress government at that time, and they could have easily got me arrested on the magistrate's warrant. But I went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gave me 6 weeks to go to Assam and appear in the court. Until then, they gave me a stay. So, therefore, protected that way, I turned up and argued myself, as I always do. And the arguments were accepted by the judge in the final hearing. And he wrote a very, very good 26-page judgment as to all the illegalities committed. And in his oral comments in the court, he said, I'm distressed that these are people with the law degrees and they're not even abiding by the basic requirements of the civil criminal procedure code. Now, I'll give you a reading, or I mean, I'll read out a few sentences of his judgment, and which is what he says in the conclusion. As the complaint does not make out any offense. See, they said I have committed all these hate speech offenses. Each of them has an ingredient which has to be identified before you can prosecute a person. None of them had any ingredient. So he says that as the complaint does not make out any offense either under section 153 IPC or under section 298 IPC, which are two of the four sections that were applied, the criminal proceedings to that extent is quashed. As the criminal prosecution against the petitioner for offenses under section 153A and section 295A, the remaining two of the penal code, has been launched without any sanction required under section 196 of the criminal procedure code, and such criminal prosecution thus is held to be illegal, and continuation of the criminal proceedings, including the complaint instituted in connection with the complaint, presently pending in the court of learned subdivisional judicial magistrate Karimganj, would amount to an abuse of the process of the court. I mean, it's a very, very strong condemnation that has taken place, and I'm thankful to the judge that he has applied his mind so thoroughly and come up with a very, very balanced but hard-hitting judgment. So I think what I have proved is that our system is still functioning, that even though political opponents who are in power try to utilize this to discredit me, overawe me. In fact, papers like Times of India had 4-column front page stories, Swamy to be prosecuted and sent to prison on hate speech, So, I mean, this is the kind of thing that was also used earlier at Harvard University because some newspaper had published my article based on that. The liberals ganged up on me and said, I should not be allowed to teach at Harvard. So, this is a gang up that is taking place all over. You see now RSS being attacked all over the world for things which they have not even said, or what they have said has been distorted. There's been a very great effort to see that people who want to unify this country on the basis of its historic culture, which is the Hindu culture, which doesn't discriminate against anyone. In fact, Hinduism says all the religions lead to God. Some may lead to God faster than the others, but the fact is they all lead to God. So, I mean, there's no other religion which says that. Every other religion says my way or the highway. And similarly, Hinduism does not convert. If somebody wants to convert willingly, of course, we welcome them. But we don't do any proselytizing as Christianity and do it in Christianity and Islam. So, the whole idea is that these 200 years of British rule under Queen Victoria onwards, as Empress, had distorted our education, distorted our history, and so on. And we have been wanting a Hindu Renaissance, not just carrying out all the past practices. Is not a kind of a rigid thing, but a Renaissance, in keeping with the 20th and 21st century requirement. So it is in this context that target was made, and I am very pleased that our jury system, the judicial system is fully on the side of freedom of speech. And you know that it's a fundamental right, freedom of speech, which is subject to reasonable restrictions. Certainly, if you incite people, it is a reasonable restriction to say, no, you don't have freedom of speech to say that. And the judge has made it very clear that there is no evidence whatsoever that any incitement was documented. And this appeared to be, all in all, an effort to discredit me. And since I was also a member of the ruling party, the BJP, and it was being done and monitored and promoted by the BJP government, including the Attorney General himself, who was then subsequently removed by our government, and one other who was a minister, and he's dead now, so I need not mention about him anymore. And but I feel strengthened to fight on for the truth and fight on for the democratic values of the country. And I think I'm greatly encouraged and supported by what the Guwahati High Court has given as judgment. I'd be happy to fight any such further cases if they come along, because I have this confidence that truth will prevail, and today the truth has prevailed. This is what I wanted to say. I must say my success is largely due to the research that went into it. And the research was done on the legal side by Satya Sabharwal, who was an intern originally. Then he graduated recently. He became now an enrolled advocate. And he's also been named by the Andhra government as the advocate on record for them in the Supreme Court, and a standing counsel for the thing. And at a very young age, he's shown his brilliance. He did extremely hard work to produce a cogent set of arguments. He also assisted me in the court by bringing out, handing me the papers as I asked for them. And so I must express my thanks to him. And of course, there was our Tony, who is a VHS member, and he's soon to become an office bearer of the VHS for Assam. And he was methodical in all the paperwork that needed to be done. We sitting a distance away from Guwahati. And there were others who helped us in matters of court procedures, and they are well-known lawyers whose name I need not mention because they're already very prominent. Mahajan was one certainly I would like to mention. There was one Chattopadhyay from who's a lawyer in Karimganj, and he withstood all the pressure that was brought on him and stood up for me and defended me in the local level. There was a real teamwork. Of course, I must say my VHS colleagues, office bearers like by Jagdish Shetty and others and his team who researched and gave me concrete information. So I have thanked them, and we won as a team. It's not only for me, and we are also, most course, grateful for the High Court coming to the defense of fundamental rights. I thank all my friends, members of the our VHS, who all resolutely propagated through Twitter and other social media the truth about what it was when there was so much propaganda against me and trying to blacken my reputation. And we overcame all that, and now finally a vindication in the court. And I hope all these nasty people who don't want democracy, who are psychophants, will learn a lesson and slink away to their abode, which is in the city sewer.